Angel Heart Radio programs should not be used to replace your legal or medical advice. Welcome everyone to Angel Heart Radio. You are our focus. We want you to know that you matter in the world and that you're important to the world. We're here to remind you of just how valuable and needed you are right now. Help us to help others. If you like what you hear, tell your friends, post, tweet, pin, let everyone know how amazing Angel Heart Radio is. So again, welcome to Angel Heart Radio. Powered by love, Angel Heart Radio is sponsored by AngelLight777.com.
Hello everyone, I'm Annette McCoy, with you usually at this time every Wednesday morning. Well, it's Wednesday morning here in Melbourne. I know it's very early Wednesday morning in the UK, and I also know that it is Tuesday afternoon in the USA and other places. So wherever you might be, thank you so much for choosing to listen in at the moment. And I'm also aware that people might well be listening in later to the podcast. You might well be aware that there are lots and lots of shows that come onto Angel Heart Radio, both live and podcast, and we have a wonderful association with United Intentions, and there are so many different shows. If you like angels, if you want to know more about the angels, then Anea offers a couple of shows live that relate to that, where you can learn how to interact with your angels and discover who your guardian angel might be. So please visit the website angelheartradio.com. Will get you a plethora, and if you want more than simply the information about Angel Heart Radio, why don't you visit Anea's personal website, AngelLight777.com, because there is so much information, including all the information about the current shows and shows that you can listen to that have already been broadcast. It is my great pleasure to welcome to the microphone my regular guest at this time, Marney Perna. And Marney is a kinesiologist. She is an author, an international speaker, and a facilitator of fantastic workshops. So I'm always delighted when Marney chooses to join me every month. It's a real commitment, and I thank you, Marney, very, very much for joining me here.
Oh, it's always my pleasure, Annette. I love the show, and I love chatting. Full stop. My husband reckons I can talk underwater with a mouthful of cement, so this is just a blessing for me to be able to do it, without challenge. So, yes, and it's a lovely brisk day in Brisbane. So I'm actually visiting your shores soon down in Melbourne, so I'm expecting it to be freezing. Is it?
Well, it's cool. I sense for people coming from Queensland, yes, it will be cold. We've had a crisp morning this morning. A girlfriend and I were both talking about how fortunate we are to have heating, and the fact that the sun does shine through our windows, which warms as well. So you'll have to tell me more later.
I will.
Yes. Well, even now, is it our listeners able to come and join you while you're in Melbourne?
No, I'm actually going down there for a family reason. We're going to visit a good friend's son's wedding. So we're going down in mass as a family unit, so there'll be a whole stack of us. And
beautiful.
Yeah, so thinking the other day, I really must look and see if I own a jumper and take a jumper with me. So
a coat will suffice.
Yes, if I've got one. I don't actually use them very often. So, but I will. Look, I'll adapt beforehand, and I'll make sure that I'm ready for the change of environment. How's that?
Well done. It's interesting, listeners, because if I go north, I have a lighter bag, usually because the clothes are lighter. Whereas for Marney or anybody else coming south, you do have to think about warmer attire. And I'm sure that that happens to people. I always think in the States, they do the opposite. They go from north to south for the warmer weather, and I guess that makes sense because they're in the northern hemisphere, whereas we in the southern hemisphere have to go north for warmer weather. Interesting. Well, listeners, I took today's topic from Marney's wonderful book, Creating Calm Amid the Chaos. And one of the chapters there happens to be My Life Sucks. And it's interesting to take a look even at that saying, because quite often when we use the word sucks, it's like, well, yes, we don't like what is happening. However, we've all sucked on a toffee or something really sweet. So again, it can be our perspective. And that's what Marney and I are going to talk about today, amongst other things. Now, what is your perspective when you're feeling that life is a bit of a challenge? Marney, I know that you have lots to say on this because a lot of your clients would come to you saying, oh, gee, what can I do about my life?
Yeah, they come to me with very high stress levels generally and with very low life energy. And what that means simply is that life is overwhelming in many areas of their life, not just one, and they're finding it a little bit difficult to find their way through the fog. So they don't, when you're in a high stress environment, you're operating on the flight-fight mechanism of the body, which is the survival mechanism. It's a primitive reflex that is built into us. And when we're in survival mode, we're in fear of our life. Okay, so it might not be an actual physical danger where someone is menacing you, but it's the body is reacting as if you are being menaced. And it kicks into the flight-fight mode, which is either to run and hide so you're not being eaten, or to be the eater, so you're going to fight for your breakfast. Okay, so you're not in that state. You're not actually at liberty, or you haven't got the option to come up with some practical solutions to the next step. So it's all that big hazy fog, and when you're feeling overwhelmed, your brain just says, "Oh, it's too hard. I'm going to bed." It just shuts down. So there's nothing that's assisting you, and it's at that time you can't come up with new stuff or even old stuff. You're kind of just putting one foot in front of each other, and if you're in total overwhelm, you feel like you're walking in quicksand. So you're not only not being able to lift your foot up properly, you can't get it out of the mud to move forward. So you're being sucked into this negativity and life-draining situation. And, it's quite a negative space to be in, and it does take effort, and it does take choice on your behalf and attitude to look at it a different way and come up with a different perspective. So no one's saying it's easy when you're in that state, all right? So what you have to do is you have to prepare for that state in case it comes up again. And I am finding it's more and more, we have to be simple. We have to simplify our lives and not complicate the solution.
Yep.
And what I'm experimenting, or not experimenting, but what I'm working with my clients about at the moment is, because your body's in danger, it thinks you're not safe. So how about you use the simple affirmation, I am safe, to allow your body to go, oh, okay, maybe it's not as dangerous as it seems, and maybe I can come up with a solution. Because when you're not in fear, you can think of hundreds of things you want to do, or you could do to help yourself pick up. So if you can start using that expression, I am safe, it's giving your body permission to think, so that you can part the fog a little bit, so you can peek through and go, okay, what can I do about what is challenging me the most at this particular time? And because this segment is called My Life Sucks, taking a look at different perspectives, it's saying to you, what can you look at within the situation that could possibly give you a different outcome? So change your perspective, and instead of saying, okay, my life sucks and that's all I can care about, go, okay, but if it didn't, what am I looking towards? So say to your body, tell them you're safe and give it a solution to the challenge. Because if it's in overwhelm, and we're talking about your brain and your whole life energy here, they're tired as well. They're not being creative at this particular time in your life. So you need to give them a little bit of an option. So you need to pause. So hit the pause button, tell your body you're safe, look at what's going on and see whether in one area of your life, if you make it too complicated, make it everything, you're not going to start. So look at one area. What is there one thing that I can do in this particular area that can help me to see the light at the end of the tunnel?
And be gentle with ourselves. Gee, we can really, we can beat ourselves up.
Yeah. And that's when it's too overwhelming. That's why I said don't try and change. So if there's a lot going on in your life, say work's a challenge and you get home and you've got young children or you've got a partner who's also experiencing a lot of life's extra journey sort of thing, and then you've got financial concerns, so you've got a lot happening in your life, and then you might be caring for people that are not well as well, or you might not be well. It's not always the other person. So you have to say to your body, okay, well, I understand that this is what's happening with me at the moment. So even get a book and write down how you're feeling, what is the overwhelm, because that's identifying, and it's helping you to identify everything that's going on. It is not meant to be this hard. All right? Life does not have to live in chaos all the time. It is not normal, even if it's your normal at the moment. So write down all the things that you find are overwhelming you, and then look at your list and go, okay, out of all of those things, I actually have the control over one or two things. So what can I do about those one or two things to make me feel as though there's hope for the future? And just work on that. All right, now, and use whatever tools are in your toolbox. So we all have tools in our toolbox. So what's in your toolbox to help you cope better? You know, in my toolbox, I help clients with essences. I help them with colour, working with colour and how certain colours can uplift and invite our harmony within ourselves. I use mists, I use oils, I use techniques. They're all in my toolbox. So I can reach into my toolbox and take something out and go, oh, this would help this particular person. So when my clients are dealing with a lot of change, I ask them what colours are in their life. And a colour that does help with change is cream. Now, it's just almost a non-existent colour. It's not white, it's not black, it's that in between. But it allows you to put extra things with it. So if you've got a beige or cream room, you can brighten it up. You don't have to change the whole thing. So cream is about allowing change and allowing space for change. So what can you do to jizz things up a little bit? All right, and it's not a blend colour. It's a base colour that allows you to add or take. So you can go more in the same tonings, or you can go brighter. So what do you need? Do you want to put some orange with it, which is a happy colour? Or the sunlight, we spoke about the sunlight coming through the window. The sun is a beautiful, positive energy. So put some bright yellow out. You know, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it doesn't have to be in your face colours because your background is cream. So wear the cream, but put a colour on it. Put the magenta or a bright emerald green or something like that. You know, and think about what those colours are doing for you. The totem animal, that often goes with change in people's life, and change can cause a lot of grief for people because you get, even if life is sucking at the time, it's a normal life, so you're kind of used to it. It's like putting your old jacket on. Yes, you're not happy there, but it's what you're used to, because to get out of that, you actually have to do something different, and that can be scary. But if you don't change, it'll just stay the same. So you have to take action, you have to take responsibility, and you have to do something. And just look at the butterfly. You know, they're happy-go-lucky caterpillar, and happy as Larry, until suddenly they realise they've got to build this tiny little cocoon and stuff themselves into it, and then await and see what happens at the other end. So the butterfly and the chrysalis is all about change, right? But they do it with hope, and they do it with trust. So give yourself those two gifts of hope and trust, and make the steps, and if the step isn't totally what you're wanting, go, okay, well, that was okay, but not the best, so what can I change differently, or what can I do a little bit differently? And just with the butterfly, just a side message about the butterfly, don't always collect a lot of butterflies. Even if you love butterflies, have space between them, because the butterfly can be, they attract lots and lots of other butterflies, but then they get all discouraged and they just become part of a group again. So when you're wanting to isolate change, you need to just have a butterfly. So if you love butterflies, look at your collection and pick one out and say, this is my leader at the moment, and just put the others aside, because they flit from flower to flower. They don't have always have a lot of substance or staying ability. All right? And that's just a different perspective on collecting butterflies. It doesn't say don't do it. Just saying if you're finding that you're going from thing to thing to thing to thing and not stabilising and not finding something, just don't be a collection of butterflies. Be the one butterfly.
Mhm. Lovely thoughts. It's interesting that you mentioned butterflies, Marney, because they're seen as a representative of change, transformation.
Yes. Transformation, yes. And that's the thing. That's that hope and trust that they have. The caterpillar has the hope and trust that it has the knowledge to build a cocoon. It has the trust to know that it can stay in there until it's ready to come out. And, maybe they're scared at first as well, but they have this built-in trust factor to know that that's how they do it, and that's what's done. So just look for things that help you. And if you can't, if you're sitting there and you're in such overwhelm that you can't come up with hope for the future, so you need to know that you're safe, and you need to know that there's hope and vision for a brighter future. If you're really finding that difficult to envisage or whatever, find someone that can help you. Find a therapist or a person or, I don't know, a mentor that can give you that can say, well, have you thought about this? Because that's the other thing about perspective. We're judging things from our own life's journey, but our life's journey may not have equipped us for a particular challenge, whereas another person's life journey has. So they can look at your journey and say, oh, but have you thought of this? And you go, oh, no. So, their perspective is giving you some extra knowledge. Doesn't mean you've got to follow everything someone tells you to do, but they might open a new door for you. And how awesome is that? Because it lets you see a different way or a different concept.
Sometimes that can be very difficult, Marney, because we can be so set in our ways and so sure that we're right.
Yep.
So,
just remember, if what you're doing doesn't work, you have to change something. If you're stumbling over the same rock every day you walk along and you think, I must remember that rock, or I mustn't forget to know the rock's there, and then the next day, bang, you hit it again. The only way you're going to avoid that rock is to take a different pathway, to be more mindful when you're near the rock, lift your legs higher, or do something different. You do the same, you will keep kicking the rock. And life's like that as well. So what rock is in your pathway that you personally have the ability to change? Now, you're not always going to be able to pick the rock up. What if it's a mountain? Well, walk around it. Don't try and climb it all the time. Look for the easier ways, and gain a different perspective.
Especially if it's the same situation or very similar, because if we fail to pick up on a situation, then a similar one will present and present and present until we get the message. So it is interesting. Sometimes we feel as though we're hitting our head against a brick wall, and and it's like, oh, why can't I? Well, that's the opportunity to step back and have another look.
And as soon as you say, how come that same thing is happening to me all the time, that is the angels and the guidance saying to you, we've been trying to mention that to you and you're not listening. All right? So just remember, as much as people always talk about the fact that we haven't got the message right, so it keeps happening again, another way of looking at that is to say, okay, well, yes, I did run into that experience once before, but I've gained some knowledge over it. So this time I can actually make a change about how I respond. So life's journey is giving you extra tools and techniques and knowledge to make a different choice. Because if you make the same choice, you'll get the same result. And that's your hint, everyone. If you keep getting the same thing, change something. Find something to change. Write your experience down as a recipe. You know, just write it all down and say, okay, well, this is what's happening, this is how it happens, this is when it happens, and this is who it happens with. And have a look at the common denominators in there, or the synchronistic chain of events that are happening that produce an outcome. Okay, when you can isolate them and write them down and everything, well, you can look at them and go, oh, they're all kind of the same. So what can I do differently? Okay, because there has to be change. If you do not choose to change, and it's a choice that we have, you will get the same. So when your life sucks, step back from it, look at it and go, what can I do that can make a difference? Now, you're not always going to have complete control over some of the aspects of your life. You know, financial stability is not always within your grasp. The weather is never in your grasp. Okay? Other people's reactions or the other people's environment is not always in your grasp, because you can't always change that. So you have to change something within yourself, something that you can do differently. And something else that a lot of practitioners share with clients is if things are totally overwhelming for you and you can't think of what to do, swap hats. So just say, well, this is my sucky hat. I choose a different hat. So either metaphysically or physically get two hats. Put one on and say, this is my sucky life. However, I'm going to wear a different hat today, and get another hat and put that on and say, this is a better life. And you're stepping back from the overwhelm. You're actually giving yourself space to step back and think about what you can do. And as soon as you do that, tell yourself you're safe, because that straight away anchors safety into the second hat. You know, we can teach this to kids when they're feeling bullied at school. Put your superpower hat on so that the bullies don't have their barbs and their nastiness doesn't have the same effect on you. It's as if it's happening in another dimension, not in present time.
Lovely practical tips. The thing is, we have to remember and to bring things back to the simple, because, boy, can we overload ourselves and can we complicate our lives. And when we get back through the layers, it can be a very, simple. The solution might not be simple. The actual situation or the underlying feeling will be simple. And then it's a case, Marnie, as you have been saying, a gentle steps. What is one thing that I'm able to change? And it might simply be our attitude.
It's a great thing to change. It's personal, it's easy, you can come up with an attitude. No one can give it to you, you've got your own. So pick your own, but just make it worthwhile. Don't make it a sucky attitude. Make it an inspirational attitude. You know, look, nowadays everyone has the access to podcasts and the internet and Google and all those kind of things, because even if they don't have it in their own home, I suppose I'm generalising, but most people do have access to the internet. So go in and type out or Google inspirational quotes or inspirational people or inspiration, full stop, and just see the plethora of information and hints and tips and techniques and people that are out there. doing inspiring stuff, and you can look up to them. And they're not always famous people. Sometimes they're like us. They're everyday people that are giving people hope for the future and helping people change one step at a time. You know, we have to move through some of life's tough lessons and get to the other side. And whilst we might be experiencing a lot of disharmony and chaos in our lives, we have to take the courage within us and say, you know what, no, I'm not having this anymore. I choose a better option, and take that responsibility and move forward. Because when we're living in that really negative space, we're living in victim consciousness. Now, we might not be consciously aware that that's how we're presenting to the universe, but vibrationally and energetically, we're working from a victim consciousness vibration. Now, at that level, we will attract like. So you will attract the people that are negative and low in energy as well. You need to make that conscious choice and go, okay, I choose, regardless of my situation, to step up and step out. I choose to be a role model for my children, even if I may not have had it as a child. I choose different. Okay, and it's a conscious choice that you're making, and then you have to use all these other things that we talk about to uplift yourself. Walk in a public garden, you know, walk along the beachfront, go and immerse yourself in an energy that's positive. You know, learn to laugh, learn to smile. Sometimes it's heart-wrenching because your space is, you know, you're in a very hurt space, but you need that link to positivity, and smiling is the bridge. You know, it's an upside-down smile. You want it to smile upside down like a rainbow, so it's an upside-down rainbow, but it's still a link, it's still a bridge to help you start to feel better and come out of that fog.
Right. Well, I'm wondering, Marney, whether we have listeners who might like to call in with questions, observations, their own thoughts. So if you would like to call in today, the area code is 714-583-6858. And if you're calling in from anywhere other than the United States, you need to remember the +1 in front and consider what phone plan you might be on. I am very, very grateful because phone plans in Australia are much more generous these days than they used to be. So I know, Marney, I'm able to call overseas within my plan, which is very fortuitous. I'm very grateful.
Yeah. So we might just sort of, you know, while listeners are thinking about that, just speak about how our body is presenting a life sucks energy. Okay. So you might be feeling very low. So these are some of the, not symptoms, but this might be some of the ways that your body is presenting. So you might feel very lonely and very low. You could be experiencing isolation where you feel nobody loves you or likes you, or you don't, a lot of people don't feel as though they contribute meaningfully to life. All right? So they feel unwanted. This happens a lot with the elderly as well. They feel like it's not just their use-by date that's gone past, it's their people aren't wanting them anymore, so that they're not feeling needed by other people. That can often present too, and like you'll end up with a plethora. When you're alone and lonely, there's not always other people to think about, so your whole energy field is imploding into yourself, so you start feeling every soreness, every glitch in your body. Sometimes we need to step away from that and go, okay, what can I do for someone else? Because that gives your body a chance to not focus just on where they're feeling and what's going on, and to look for others, or to care for someone, or go to a shelter and pat some cats or dogs or something like that. You know, there are things you can do that do not cost money to help you lift your spirits. You know, smiling at people, exchanging a common, how are you today? I'm well, thank you, how are you? They don't always want to hear about all your woes and troubles, so don't always give it to them. Just experience the thought that they said hello. So say hello back and smile, and just say, lovely day today. even though you might be hurting inside, it's those things that help to build the piggy bank of uplifting. All right, and your physical symptoms, yes, they're physical and they're real. However, if you can park them sometimes and not just focus purely on how you're feeling and how angry you are and how upset you are, and look for positive things. So your solutions are to reach out. And you know, that reaching out can be as simple as smiling at another person. Or as I said, go to a shelter, go to an animal shelter and pat a cat or pat a dog, or you can. Don't let yourself be caught up into the negativity in the shelters. Just know that if you've gone there and you've patted an animal, you've given them a bit of love as well. Right? You're not always going to be able to take all the animals with you, so don't go with that thing in mind. Go with the fact that you're going to make a difference to one animal that day, that moment. You're going to give your love to that animal, and the animal will accept it and go, that was awesome. Right, and then you go home, and that shows you that bridge of connection, that heart speak from one thing to another is the way forward. It's the light that relights your soul. It's very heavy today, aren't we? Sorry. But no, it's about uplifting you. It's about being positive even though you don't feel that you are. You have to take yourself forward. All right.
You mentioned earlier, Marney, about what we can do to write things down, and so I know on this program before you have mentioned a list that we can have, that we can visit when it's like, oh, how can I get myself out of this bog, if you like, or this feeling that life sucks. And so, because at those times when we are feeling bogged down, it can be very difficult to move out of that. If we have a resource list that we can go to, and I don't know about you, but sometimes there'll be a different one that might pop out that I haven't used before, I've forgotten about.
Yep. But you can't, they're not, like when you're in overwhelm, it's not the time to think about them.
No.
You have to think about them before overwhelm so that you've got a bit of a list to even look at.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I like about it, having a list that I can refer to when I am feeling very bogged down and don't want to look anywhere else or think.
Absolutely. And like, it's not saying nobody's life is perfect, okay? So you're going to think to yourself, oh, yes, so-and-so's life is perfect. Yeah, no, they're not. But they might be presenting, they might have decided to put a show that life is better than what it might be. Because not everyone wants to speak. You don't want to match your negativity with the verbal words all the time as well. Okay, so
and that's one thing that people might find as a pattern in their life, telling the story over and over and over. Now, if it's an uplifting story, fantastic. Like, sometimes if I hear a good joke, I will tell it over and over and over, and then of course it's gone. I forget it and think about it a week or 2 weeks or 2 months later, and I wouldn't have a clue. However, I've certainly got mileage out of that joke, and I've enjoyed it, and other people have enjoyed it, even though I might not be the best joke teller. It's different if a person always starts their conversation with a negative. I don't know about you, Marney. I find that really, you sort of go, and so then I try and put a positive spin on maybe part of the story. Be able to say, how isn't it wonderful that you have someone who will listen to you, or how wonderful that you have a mouth and voice at this time, because gee whiz, I've been without a voice, and how frustrating is that?
Absolutely. And you have to, even if you're telling your story, you have to adapt it to say, okay, well, yes, this was what was happening in my life, but give your body a positive response at the end. Right? Don't always make it about the negativity. So, because if you just make it as the negative thing, well, then that's all you're going to get all the time. People don't want to keep hearing that all the time. And that sounds really bad and callous of people, but people don't have the energy to keep hearing it.
Now, that's a good point.
Okay.
To try and put a little bit of more positivity each time it's told. So,
absolutely,
by all means, tell it 7 times. However, by the time you've told it the 7th time, hey, you'll see it differently too, if you're being able to put a little bit of positivity into it.
Just remember as well that your body doesn't always understand what's real and what's not real. So if you tell the same old story constantly, you're creating a neural pathway where the body feels that's the total truth. All right, so you need to know that your story, you can share your story as a what do they call it? Not a book.
Anecdote.
Like as an anecdote. You can share your story as an anecdote, but you have to give it a positive ending. You have to say, yes, but although all this happened, I still am able to do such and such. Okay, and that way the body doesn't connect totally to the negativity of the story. And the story is often used, you'll see it being used in public speaking. It's the shock value. But you don't want people in shock all the time. You need them to be able to get out of shock and have a solution. So a very good public speaker will they might talk about the story and an anecdote and a connection, but then they uplift and they take you out of that to something else. But the story connects to another person. And how often have you been negative about something? And you'll find 5 million people that are also negative about the same thing. So that just becomes a negativity basket. And you don't want that. You want a positivity basket. You want to look for the positives in life. Now, you're not telling your body something that's not true, and we've spoken about this several times before. If you tell your body that you feel fantastic and you feel like crap, your body's saying, well, what do you mean? Because I'm a little bit confused here. Are you feeling like crap, or are you feeling fantastic? Because I'm feeling like crap and you're saying fantastic. So you have to use language that instead of saying I'm feeling crap, you feel I'm not so good. And the body understands that because it's not a lie. Okay, so don't try and cheat your body by a total bright, cheery face when you're feeling low. But use language that doesn't take you in and keep you in low. You have to lift it up.
Raise me up.
I hope this is helping people. Yes. And not what we're doing here is we're talking about what can you personally do in a life that's sucking to help yourself have hope. So it's a hope link here tonight or today. It's looking at things differently so that you can go, okay, if I just did this, maybe that will work. Right? If I just ask for help, if I just turn left instead of turning right, if I just wear a different colour or find a gemstone that connects to me, or listen to my angels and find a 5 cents on the ground and give gratitude and thanks. Find a feather. A feather is a symbol of hope from the angels. I went on an event on the weekend down the Gold Coast, and I was lamenting the fact that my groupie couldn't get a leave pass from heaven. All right, so Mum would normally come with me. Mum and Dad would normally come and have a little mini holiday while I did whatever I had to do. And I was thinking, it's so much fun with Mum doing it. Not that she was fun all the time, but she got into the thing. Dad's a little bit more resolute, so to speak. But anyhow, I offered to Dad if he wanted to come with me, and he said yes straight away. And I was thinking, it's such a shame that Mum wasn't here. But you know what? Facebook came up with a message, and the Facebook memory was Mum and Dad on a veranda, very similar to where we were staying, obviously 5 years ago, at the same weekend. So, she was with me. She came along in spirit, if not in physical form, but she reminded me that she is still with me. And then out of the blue, my
Right.
daughter decided she and her partner went and visited Mum's grave or resting place. Again, it connected me to Mum, and it's her message to say, I'm with you. Right? And then you find your feather and you think, oh, thank you, Mum, there's another feather, So they are with you. So who do you connect with, even if they're on the other side, that is giving you validation and hope for the future? And if you're carrying a lot of burden about their passing, let it go. Let the burden go. You made the decision that was in the best or the highest good that you could have made at the time. There is no use having coulda, shoulda, woulda. You can't go backwards, you can only go forward. So, if you're carrying a burden of guilt over a passing or something like that, let it go. Give it to the angels with blessings and know that it's okay. And that's one thing you can take off that.
Go on.
Sorry, you're just thinking you're carrying all these burdens, and that's not helping you to uplift your life. So if you can let one of them go, if you can take that metaphysical rock out of the backpack and just put it off to one side, so you're not carrying it anymore.
And it might be helpful to find a medium. Gorgeous friend of mine, Lois Kugler, was on this show in the very, very beginning, and she was a wonderful contact for people to ring in, and she could connect them with loved ones. Maybe that's something that you haven't thought of, and you've had a loved one pass recently. The fact that mediums are able to connect us with those who have passed, it is so comforting. That's how I met Lois. I sought out a medium when my gorgeous husband, soon after he passed. And, I thank Barry for introducing me to Lois, because we've had a wonderful association and we've been able to help each other. I'm reading a book at the moment by another well-known Australian medium, and Anthony talks about how we can help ourselves through the grieving process, because there's no right or wrong way. However, some of us can become stuck in grief and we don't realize that we are. For me, there's a healthy grief and there's an unhealthy grief, and it's the unhealthy grief that we need to. It's another form of bog. We can really be stuck in it. And our loved ones want to see us happy. They know that we miss their physical presence. They also know that we have a wonderful opportunity to live a happy life. And so it saddens them when they can see us really stuck in grief, pining the fact that they're no longer with us.
Yeah, totally.
And I know, Marney, you're speaking from experience. I am too. There are times when, boy, even though it's over 18 years for me, there are times where, bingo, it really affects us. However, I know Barry's looking down. He too would have been so ecstatic at the weekend when our third son announced his engagement. So,
how lovely! Yeah,
joy. Yeah, beautiful.
Definitely.
And at times like that, I know the boys must miss their father. However, I would like to think that they're aware that he's certainly with them as well. You look for those precious signs, Marney, and they are there.
Exactly.
It's sometimes we overlook them or don't realise that it's a sign.
Absolutely. You just forget. So, or you're not realising that it's actually them that are giving you that design or that sign specifically. So, well, that's the way I look at it anyhow. And you learn in this profession to trust your intuition and to trust the messages that you're getting, that they're the right ones for you at the time. And they're perfect usually. You know, you sit there and you go, oh my God, that's awesome. When you allow them. All right?
Yes.
So just think of all the things that we can do to help ourselves. And as I said, write yourself a list of free things. So, you know, when life's overwhelming, a lot of that comes back to financial security and the finances, and you don't always have spare money. Okay, so what is within your knowledge and your experience that is cost-free, that, you know, is cost-negative to uplift you? And that's where you enjoy the where you live. You know, where can you go to? Even if it's just out in the sun under a tree and listening to the birds. You know, or watching someone play, go near a playground and watch the little children play happily and innocently. You know, there'll be options for you, so you need to seek them out. And if your overwhelm is such that you need to be inside and in bed, put a timer on your phone or your alarm clock, and just say to yourself, okay, well, I'm giving myself this permission to just wallow, but I'm putting a time limit on it. I'm giving myself an hour or 2 hours. And after that, I'm going to get up, I'm going to have a shower, and I'm going to do something. Right? And then just give yourself permission to do that and do it in stages. Because we have all been in that situation. It may not be the exact replica of what you're going through, but the concept is something that all of us live through and experience. And it's collective wisdom that helps things like the radio show here to let you to listen to some options that might be out there. Okay, my calendar in the room today, you know, this beautiful single bud of a gorgeous yellow rose. You know, how stunning is that? You know, so find some pleasure in something. And because you know, it's very easy to find the negative. So we'll say to the listeners that their job today, if they choose to accept it, or their assignment, if they choose to accept it, is to find 3 things that uplift their heart and their soul and brings joy into their life. When you find those 3 things, write it down so you remember. Put it on the fridge. Put it on a piece of paper and write the word on the fridge, so that when you go to get something out of the fridge, that word is there and you acknowledge it.
Yes. It's wonderful. A friend used to have affirmations in her bathroom and around a house. And they can be really cool too, because we might not see them. Sometimes we get very used to our surroundings, and so things might disappear. We don't actually see them. However, when there are things like that, it's amazing how one will suddenly jump out at us. And we'll go, oh, wow. Thank you for the reminder.
Yes. Or acknowledging, because your brain will go to it. They'll see it straight away. And then you might frown at it and you think, oh, no, I've got to smile at that. So, you know, it's all about, it's habits. Form a habit of happiness. Okay? Look for happiness. Look for joy. Look for positivity. Even in a grey day, find the cream. What can you change? What can you do? You know, gemstones are another thing. They're something that we can find easily and happily, and not always expensive items. You know, diamonds are lovely, I agree with you, but, you know, we can't always hit the diamond. But, you know, look for gemstones. So 2 gemstones that are quite good for people that are feeling a bit lowly is moonstone. And moonstone is that, like, it looks like a milky opal. So sometimes it's used as, they class moonstone as, well, it's not classed as opalite, but you often get opalite and not moonstone. But as long as you're attaching to the moonstone or the opalite, it doesn't matter. But it's just that milky white colour. And it's all about emotional balance and calmness. Right? So look for moonstone, or have a glass of milk, and as you're drinking your milk, think about, you know, emotional balance and calmness. And turquoise is a stone that's used a lot to release negativity. So again, Google gemstones and come up with a gemstone that suits your mood of uplifting. You'll always find one with the negativity or the downside, but look for the positive one. And then once you've discovered the name of the gemstone, you go, oh, that's really nice, I like that, adopt it. And find out more information about it, so that when you need to use the energy or the vibrational power of that stone, all you've got to do is say the name, and all the information that you've put into the filing bank in your mind or your brain comes forward. It doesn't always have to be the physical. So let the vibrational energy of that product lift you up.
Wonderful. I have a crystal hanging in my room, and it throws rainbows, of course, when the sun shines through it, and that's happening at the moment. And it doesn't matter.
Delightful.
Some days I'm here and I see them, and I love them whenever I see them. It's absolutely gorgeous. So, listeners, that might be something. See, what can you do to create the joy, not only for yourself, but for other people as well?
And you can create that rainbow effect by, if you wear clothes that have sparkly things on the front of them. I'm a real bling person, everyone. So I love bling. I love crystals. I love
absolutely.
Champagne and crystal kind of stuff. And quite often you might be wearing either a necklace or just, you can buy clothes now that have little spots all over it that have got a little rhinestoney kind of thing. Well, if you're on public transport or in a vehicle and the sun comes through the window and hits that, you'll actually see all those little things dancing all around the place, all the reflections of the sparkles. And it's great fun. I wear sparkly shoes. I've got these sandals that have little pretend rain, cabochons all over them. And down the coast, I was sitting in front of a window, and Dad kept saying, "There's something outside the window," and we realised it was the reflection of the sparkles that he could see outside.
Right.
Because I moved my foot, and he went, "Oh, it moved," and I went, "Oh, so did my foot." So it's just good fun. Look for things that are fun. That give you happiness. I can't stress that enough.
Absolutely. Think back to what gave you pleasure in your childhood. I'm a great one for blowing bubbles. I adore them, and I have this little container in my bag, and quite often if I'm out and about, I'll blow the bubbles. And of course, other people love them too. It's just gorgeous. And they're such simple pleasures. Yes.
And I mean, you can get them from the $2 shop for really cheap. Just sit there
exactly. Yeah. And I know Kmart here, around Christmas time, they usually have these wonderful wands.
The big ones.
For $1. And I think they were 50 cents at one stage. And they're fabulous. You have these really huge bubbles. And of course, you see the rainbows in the bubbles. And oh, my goodness. Yeah. So, hey, just see what is out there.
What potential has life got for you by creating one form of change in your current life? The open doors of opportunity are massive.
Exactly. And it's up to us to seize the moment. I have a photo on my fridge that's been there for many, many years, and it's an elephant riding a wave on a surfboard.
I know, it's so funny. There's another one. There's a meme that the elephant digs its head in the sand as well, a baby elephant.
Oh, right. Right.
On social media, same kind of concept.
Right. Yeah. So seize the moment and make it joyful for yourself and joy-filled for others. That's what we do here, Marnie.
We do, yes. Even if we're telling people what to do all the time. We're doing it with love. We're sharing our gifts and our knowledge with love. Okay, yeah.
And I trust that with these shows, we not only give suggestions, but also we bring laughter and joy. And as you said, Marnie, love. No, it's because that's what this life is all about. It was interesting. I had a group of ladies here last night. We have a regular pizza night because it's very easy on everybody. And we were talking about the amazing rescue in Thailand recently, the young boys and
wonderful.
their soccer coach.
Yeah.
Yes, and just how that brought the world together. It was incredible. People left, we had British people coming over, American, Australian, and it went on, as well as the locals. And they were prepared to leave their own homes. And even though they had expertise and were experts in their field, there was still, the whole expedition was filled with danger. And they were prepared to do that, to save those boys and their leader. And how amazing the way the boys, they'd been there for several days, like over a week.
They had hope.
Before they were found. And I just think such an inspirational story. And I'm quite sure that was created to bring the world together, to show just what we can do through love.
It was very, and you'd wait up at night watching to see how many more got out that night, sort of thing. Because the first night they got the 4 out, and then you heard rumours that another 3 had come through, and then the next one no, they haven't. They've got to wait again, and you go, oh no, please don't let it end disastrously, or disastrously. So. Yes, no, it is it was a gift of pure love, all of it. So.
Yes, and people prepared to work together, and surely that's what we talk about too. Now, Marney, earlier in the show you mentioned the workplace, and I often think that can be an interesting situation. And so if you're finding it challenging, bring in the love, bring in the joy. Take in a cake to share, or blow bubbles. Take in little bubble containers.
Absolutely.
Do something. Tell a joke. Put a joke on the notice board. There are lots of things that are simple, but that can have an amazing effect on changing the atmosphere.
Yes. Absolutely. And I'll often get my clients, if they're experiencing a lot of trauma at work in that respect, is to have a picture on their desk of a happy time, so that even though they might be experiencing a fair bit of unrest and tension, they can have those momentarily bits of pause by looking at the photo, giving it a nice smile, and then going back to what they were doing. And you can't always make other people happy, okay? You have to make yourself happy. And do it for yourself, and, fingers crossed it'll permeate into everyone else. And if it doesn't, well, you can't change that. So why worry about it? Do what you can for yourself first.
Absolutely. And then I've noticed in the past, by changing myself and my own attitude, it is amazing how it can change others as well. So we can only do what is in our power. Absolutely.
In our control, totally in our control. There's so many things that are out of our control, but our attitude, our resilience, and our joy and happiness is within our control.
Absolutely.
Don't give it away to other people.
That's right. Thank you, Marney. Thank you, listeners.
My pleasure.
I've thoroughly enjoyed the last little while. My goodness me, the hour has zapped past. I trust that that's the same for you too, listeners. Marney, enjoy your time in Melbourne when you come down to celebrate with your family. And listeners, I trust that you too will have a fabulous week. Know that it's up to you to bring the love, the joy and the fun into your life and to that of others.
You've been listening to another fabulous program on Angel Heart Radio. Our goal is to remind you of how much you matter in the world and to let you know that we appreciate who you are in the world. You can check out who's on, when we're on, and who our guests are at angelheartradio.com. Everything is there. It's all just one click away. Angel Heart Radio programs are powerful tools to help you in your life and your life experience. They are not intended, nor should they, be used to replace your medical or legal advice. The views expressed by hosts, co-hosts, callers, guests and associates should not be construed as advice from Angel Heart Radio.